All right, guys, welcome back. So I'm excited about this because we were talking, and this is something we've never really talked about, and it's like kind of a big topic. And I was kind of surprised
Mhm.
because we went back through our episodes, and Delancey was like, "Yeah, I don't think we've ever talked about it." So what we are going to talk about, because both of us are, we're going to talk about
Mhm.
interracial adoption, because obviously we are both not like, it sounds so weird to say with our race, because I don't really care. You can probably tell how I feel about it with my
I
parents.
don't say it's just weird to say it like that.
Yeah, like because
We're not with our race.
yeah, like my parents are
Like
white, but
the
that's never been like a
400 meter
big you know what I mean?
stupid
Like
athletic joke for those that don't follow track. Sorry.
anyway, so that's what we were going to talk about today. So, Delancey, I'll just ask you, did what like we'll go into kind of like how you felt about it and like maybe some things people said to you that you were just like, "Huh?" Those kinds of things. Like really?
Which one do you want to start with? How I felt about it? Because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I've
Talk
always
about how
been
you
fine
felt
with
like with
it.
your parents and your siblings and
I don't. I mean, I thought it was normal. Honestly, like legit, I always thought it was normal. Like I just thought it was to me it was normal. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anything. My parents, were very clear that I was their daughter. I am their daughter. It is what it is. Like
yeah.
there's like it doesn't matter. It sounds so bad because I know there's gonna be people out there be like, yes, it does matter. Nah, 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 nah. Like it 100% matters because I literally saw this on TikTok last night about somebody going off, and I just kind of had to
Plug that
swipe
in.
on by. But like when I say it doesn't matter, what I mean is that it was acknowledged that I am half Mexican, half Caucasian, as
Yes.
far as we know. For those that don't know, my biological mom was adopted, so we're assuming Caucasian, but
Right.
we'll
Right.
we'll figure that out later, another day. But it was one of those things where it was like you're just as much, you know, Caucasian as you are Hispanic.
Yes.
Like you're just as much like you are equal parts.
Yes.
And that was always explained to me, like you are equal parts, like that is who you are. And it was, it just wasn't a thing. It just
Yeah.
wasn't like a negative thing. It wasn't focused on as negative. It was in a way celebrated without being obnoxious.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Total sense.
How did you feel about it though?
I didn't
Because
feel
you're
so
100%, you're 100% Colombian.
but I never felt weird about it. Does that make sense? Like I always, yes, maybe thought, oh, it'd be
Yeah,
cool to have somebody that looked like me, but I was never
yeah,
upset by it. I was never because the way my parents talked about it, like me and the rest of my family, like being brown is what like they all refer. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever because they embraced it. You know what I mean? They really did. They embraced it.
yes,
And
yes.
my parents were really, really, I still to this day think it's so cute. And they actually do it for Mia. She's not into dolls anymore, but like they would always get me dolls of color because that was my mom's way of being like, here, we want you to feel like, but I never once
Right.
mentioned, I need a brown Barbie. I need a black Barbie. I never once mentioned that. But my parents, it was a
Yeah.
gesture of theirs to be like, here, we want you to but no, I never felt like that. I mean, I did at times there's like, dude, there's a lot of white people here and I'm the only brown person, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, poor me, like I'm the
There's a
worst. It
lot
was
of
just
white
like
people
that's
here.
like just really what it was. It's just like,
I just love
but
that.
then I'd always be like, well, my skin's brown. I'm not gonna lie. My skin's way sorry, people, way more beautiful than your skin. It just is. Like you get it. We're like naturally complected with the olive tone, and we've got to step up in
Hmm.
the game. I'm sorry, but it's true. And so no,
It is definitely
I never.
it's definitely interesting. It's although you get to maintain the olive tones all the time, and if I'm not, this is a perfect example. If you look at pictures of me from like during my time period living in Alabama, you can tell there's a clear difference with where I was with my mental health because I was so pale.
Oh,
I was like borderline translucent.
oh, this
Like
is some
I don't want to say it like
whiteness.
that. Like that sounds terrible, but like I was white. Like I was white. I did not have any like hardly any tan just because like I just wasn't I wasn't
Yeah.
getting out. So that's where that so when I started like getting out and being out and like
Right. Right.
making being more intentional being outside and like I started getting tan, people that knew me then are just like,
Whoa.
you weren't kidding. You are half Mexican. I'm like, yes, yes. Why would I lie?
Yeah.
What is
Right.
that?
Why would I lie? What was I
Yes.
going to ask you? Oh, let me ask you this. Were you ever
Mm.
upset? Because I feel like this is a big thing that people are like, oh, that like they like, and I'm not saying I don't know if your parents did or not, like you maybe they didn't try and incorporate more Mexican or Spanish or anything like that into your life. Does that make sense?
No, no, I was when growing up, I was more stuck on the fact that I wanted to have hibachi as much as possible.
That you wanted to what?
I wanted to have hibachi. We had
Haba-
this really great Japanese restaurant called Mikado's. It just, but like, I mean, that goes back to the whole entire thing of like, it just, it, I don't know, maybe it was because I don't know, like my dad is part Italian. He doesn't speak Italian. So
right.
like, that just, no, I've
Yeah.
never been upset about that. I do get upset though when people assume I can speak it or that I, or get in, or they get insulted or offended that I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah. Isn't wait,
That
who get
bothers me.
what type? This is really weird to like word it this way. What type of people get offended? Does that make
You want me
sense?
to tell you the truth?
Do you under
Like
wait,
full blown honest truth.
yeah, full blown honest
So
truth.
it's always been white people that got offended by that. Always.
Really?
It was always white people. Every
Really?
time. Every time.
Really?
Like they were like offended and insulted, which is so funny to me now that I think back on it. It's that I don't think I've never had a Hispanic person. I've had Hispanic people. I am like totally mixing up my sentences. I've had Hispanic people come up to me and start speaking Spanish,
Yes.
thinking, I mean, I get it, that's fine. And I'm
Right,
like,
right.
oh, lo siento, no hablo español. I only speak English. I'm sorry. And like, I usually say it like that. And they're like, oh, we get it. And then they just speak to me in English,
Yeah.
which, that's sometimes that's a work in progress together. And
Right.
sometimes it's completely fine. You just,
Right.
you never know.
Yeah.
But they've never once, anyone with Hispanic in them, whether it's Mexican or, Puerto Rican or whatever, they've never been offended that I don't speak Spanish. But I do recall very clearly multiple times where white people, it's usually like they were usually older than me.
So
You
weird.
don't speak Spanish? Why not? And I would usually, and like I told you before we started recording, I'd always be like, I mean, because my parents are white and I was like, they speak English.
Right, right.
So there wasn't,
What do you want me
and
to do?
then they get even more insulted. Like, what do you mean? And it's just like, I'm adopted. Cause like, it almost like makes their brain break. Like they don't, it's like, did you ever have that moment where you're watching somebody when you're trying to explain to them, this is my family? And
Oh
you can
yeah.
like very clearly see their brain break because they can't, for whatever reason,
Put it together.
it's still even now, they don't understand. Like they don't
Mhm.
get it. Like I was explaining to somebody that my sister is my sister that lives here,
Yeah.
blonde hair, blue eyes. She's olive tone skin. And they're
Yeah.
like, I could see their brain break going,
Ow.
how?
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
blood? And I'm like, that's the key question.
Right. Right.
So it's like, no, not by blood. I'm actually adopted. I'm really glad you asked it that way.
Yeah.
So, but have
No.
you had people do this with the speaking Spanish? And then what
Yeah.
kind of people were they? I'm
And
interested to know that.
they're actually Hispanic. And I don't know if it's because that yeah,
Really?
yeah, where they like come up to me and they say it and they kind of get frustrated, like, oh, really? No. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't. But my favorite thing is because because of their religion here. Them is a lot of white boys that go on Spanish speaking missions. And so I'd work with them and I'd be like, but that white boy right down there, he can talk to you in Spanish. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, go that way.
Yes.
He
Go
can
to that
talk to you.
white boy.
I can't. And they're like, oh. And so, and like, it's
I
never
love
been
that.
like, super like they've never been super offended, but you can tell they're kind of like, why? And I'm like, I just don't. And I know I look it, but like there's
Mhm.
no way for us to communicate that you don't like I can't be like I'm adopted, like my parents are white, but
Yeah, you can't go into the
yeah.
whole thing when they're, yeah, when Spanish is their first language and you don't speak Spanish. That is a little difficult to go. And
Yeah.
despite what anybody out there thinks, if you yell at them and
or
slowly
talk
yell at them, they still
or
don't understand you
or
just for,
talk louder. It's over.
yes, do you speak? And it's just like, why are you yelling at that person
So
and
true.
doing hand motions?
talking and talking in your language still that they don't understand.
They don't. They still don't understand you. You're just doing it louder.
It's so
What
true.
the world? That's interesting. So wait, that was in Utah that
Yeah.
happened. I'm
That's been in
assuming.
Utah.
Okay.
And obviously that's where I've like primarily been. And it's very different. One thing too that I noticed when we do go out of state, because it's not a bad thing, but there are primarily a
Mhm.
lot of white people in Utah. It's just how it is. And so like when we go to
I
California or
was literally
Washington,
about to go. You don't say.
but but you know what I mean? So like, and it's never like culture shock to me. To me, I
Mhm.
just like when I do go to California or Washington or a different state, it's just like, oh, it's just so much more diverse here. And so people just don't care as much. You know what I mean? Not that people
Mm-mm.
care here, but it's just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just
It's. I almost wonder if it's because there is such a strong white population up there. If it is like I don't know. I don't know how if I want to. I don't know how I want to say that, but people
say
know
it.
my heart by this point if they've made it to this episode. Um, there's such a strong white population that maybe it's something like of a familiarity thing that they think that they have with other Hispanic people, and then when that get kind of like gets pulled out from underneath them, it
Yeah.
probably throws them a little bit. Like,
Right.
wait
No,
a
that
minute,
makes
what?
total sense. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I totally understand that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
So,
that's the only thing that I can put together. But
yeah. No, that makes total sense. I do like that. I like that. Another question
but
for
that's
you.
so interesting how
Oh,
different. I'm so sorry to like
no,
circle
no, no,
back
no,
to this, but
no,
like
don't because it is like,
it's so interesting to me how different that is our experience because when you said that, I was sitting here thinking, obviously white people, like obviously.
yeah, no,
I mean, like obvi, because like that seems to be it's interesting to me now that I've noticed that I don't want to say my whole life because it hasn't been everybody. It's just
right,
usually it's the ones that are shocked by that or like
right.
offended by that I don't speak Spanish. Like
Yeah.
it's always a clutch my pearls white people, which respectfully, I'm saying that respectfully, like because I'm half white, so I want to be whatever. Anyway, whatever. But it's interesting to me that that's like that down here in the South,
Right.
and like it's accepted by everybody else,
Yeah.
but up in Utah, it's
Yeah.
different for you and what you've experienced.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so wild to me.
I know it's crazy. It is crazy. And
Like
I get it
that's
all the time at
absolutely
work,
wild.
all the time at work. And we've got a girl who actually she is from Brazil, and she is tall and got light hair and fair skin than me, and she can speak it like crazy. And so when I'm like, she can help you, they're kind of like, and I'm like, sorry,
Espanol.
that way.
If you're not watching YouTube, we're pointing in different
No,
directions.
it's so crazy though. Okay, another question.
Mhm.
Did your parents or you ever feel like to take Spanish in school? Did you want to? Did you
Okay.
want to take a different
I
language?
I
Did you?
okay, so school was weird. Not weird. Different. Interesting. Whatever. I started school in I don't know how they do it in Utah, but like I started school in North Carolina where you learned French from
Oh,
I don't understand why this happened this way, but it is what it is. I learned French from kindergarten to fourth grade.
wow.
No, third grade. Kindergarten to third grade. And then fourth grade, you switch to Spanish. And you learn Spanish. I want to say you learned Spanish from fourth to eighth grade, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then when you got into high school, you pick the language you want to learn. You could learn French,
Okay.
Spanish, Italian, Latin, whatever.
Yeah.
Was Latin in there? Who knows? Anyway, I haven't been to school obviously since third grade. That was many years ago. We're not going to talk about that. anyway, when we moved to Louisiana, we, oh God, did we do Spanish? We did Spanish in Louisiana
Okay.
from fifth to ninth, eighth grade. And then ninth grade, I don't remember if I took a language or not in ninth grade. I want to say I did, but I'm not sure. That school was weird.
Yeah.
Um, but in high school here in Mississippi, I took Spanish. I did want to take Spanish. I took Spanish in college.
Yeah.
I wanted excuse me,
Bless
I
you.
wanted to do it because I wanted to learn it
Right.
because I remember my family telling me, Spanish is going to be a very predominant language as we keep moving forward in this country. You should learn how to speak Spanish. That way you'll be bilingual. And I love how my family thinks because it was very smart. And
Yeah.
it was, you want to be bilingual because you will make more money.
Yeah.
And I was like, dollar bills, y'all, before we had dollar bills, y'all, saying, like, all I could think was, obviously, I
Yeah.
need to make more money. I should be as employable as
Right.
possible. Like,
Yeah.
that was, I was, without being taught, you should be employable. I was taught, like,
Right.
make yourself needed,
Yeah.
an asset. And
Yeah.
if you're bilingual, you're an asset. Well, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's the only thing. And so, long-winded answer, I wanted to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
just didn't keep it. I should have like gone on like a few months in deep immersion
Yeah.
into a Spanish speaking country and then I would
Right.
have kept it. However, I never want to leave the country until like a year ago.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but what about you? Did you learn Spanish? Did you want to learn Spanish? Did you study Spanish?
So I always wanted to, and the way the schools work here, it was never offered in elementary school. It wasn't offered until
What?
like junior high, middle school. Yeah. And again,
Wait,
as like you were talking about how your elementary school did it, I was just kind of thinking like maybe it's because it's like super predominantly white here. And so they didn't
but I
really
went
see
to
a
like a
need
super
for it.
predominantly like white private school.
Oh, maybe it's because it was a
I
private
think it was.
school.
Oh yeah, that might have been it. That might have been it.
Yeah,
That,
that's
that,
probably
that
what
makes
it
sense.
is. Yeah. So,
So you
but
never learned Farah Jaka in
no.
French? That makes me so sad. I need to send that to you. You need to learn it. It's like a staple of my childhood. And okay, so that has
No,
nothing to
you're
do with
good.
anything.
No,
So
you're totally fine.
you never had the opportunity to learn
Not in
as you were.
elementary. Yeah, not in elementary, but junior high and high school, I took it. Yeah.
Did any of it stick?
No, because it's just like you said, if you don't use it, you'll
So
lose it. And
yeah.
like it's so true because with Ben, he talks to people like every day. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like he's still like my
Mm-hmm.
husband, who as a total white boy can speak Spanish better than I can.
I still can't believe like that still throws me off that he's white. Like I
Yeah.
could have sworn.
Yeah.
That's what I get. That's what
No,
I get for being
it's so
judgy.
funny.
And
No,
it's
you
not even like being judgy. It's just
it's
being
not
observational.
judgy.
Like he's just
Yeah.
very tan.
He
Very
is.
tan.
He is.
Has
He's
he
got
done
very
a
olive skin.
23andMe? Because I feel like he's
No, I was telling him he should. He said he's got a lot of what did he say? I don't even remember now. English in him maybe, but I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't know. My mom,
but
my mom swore he was
like
Italian.
England.
Yeah. He's probably gonna listen to this and be like, Melena, that's not even the right country. So who knows? He told me the other day, but I don't remember.
That makes me
But
laugh.
yeah.
He's
So
gonna be he's literally gonna listen to this and like probably be in another room and walk in with his headphones in and look at
be
you and
like
go seriously. And you're gonna know exactly what part he's
and
on.
I'll just start laughing and be like, "Mhm, yep. No, but yeah.
Um,
So yeah, I then like you
so
said,
so
I didn't use it. Anyway, go
you
on.
learned it, like you worked on it, sorry, you
No.
studied it and then like in junior high and high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did your parents feel about you learning Spanish?
Oh, they were all for it. They were 100% for it and supportive. And like, they're like, yeah, like, of course. And they were like on the same thing with you. And because I remember applying for like scholarships and stuff too for college, they were always like,
Mm-hmm.
put that you are Hispanic because they always want that. Like, always put that,
Same,
always put that. Yeah, because it's ahead of the game.
same,
But I'm like, I just don't know enough
same.
Spanish. But yeah, no, it's with everything. That's what my parents told me to do because it's the exact same thing as your parents. Exact
Yeah,
same thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Which is so crazy,
Well,
which
and
is so funny.
it's so interesting to me because like that's exactly what my parents had me do too, and it's like, and it wasn't a bad thing. I mean, it's not terrible or
Right.
anything like that. I
No.
mean, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I almost feel like our parents were ahead of the game a little bit
Well, and
with
they
the
wanted
whole entire make sure to mark Hispanic, because now people are like getting DNA tests to prove that they're like an eighth Native American to get
right.
a scholarship or something like that.
Right.
And you know,
Well, honestly, it's just what any parent would
yeah,
do. You're trying to do what's
exactly,
best for your kid. You know what I mean? And our parents
exactly.
are like, put that because they wanted us ahead of the game. Anyway, yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, and there's not, there's not a way to mark multiple boxes either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's the reason why. Like I know some people get like so like bent out of shape if you say, like I had a man at a at one of the baseball games try to tell me, I said something about like half white, half Mexican, Hispanic, whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, you're not. You're Italian." And I was like,
Mm. Okay.
I said, my last name's Italian. And I
Right.
completely understand how that's a little confusing. And I was like, but I am half white, half Latino. He's like, you're an American. And I was like,
Uh,
I never said I wasn't. Like,
yeah.
what just happened? Who hurt you? Why are you mad at me? Because my genetics are a little differently, like a little different than yours. Like my DNA is different than yours. Like my
Right. Why
skin
does it
tone is
matter?
different than yours. Like, why are you upset about this? And like he like got it like got to the point where he was just like, you just need to go ahead and admit that you're not telling the truth. And I was like,
Whoa.
and I looked at him and I looked at some of my friends, and my friends like, and I just kind of sat there and I was like, I am so floored that this is happening right now. One, because like, who does that?
Seriously.
Two, you're a white man. Back up. Like respectfully, I don't ever like, I don't like to point that out or anything, but I actually pointed that out that day, and I was like, you do realize that you're a male and you're white telling a female who is clearly not fully white, half Hispanic, and telling her she's wrong in front of other people.
I
And
just
another guy stepped in and was like, dude, like you need to quit. Like
like
stop.
I don't and
Like
it
you
like
need to stop.
it doesn't even like I like where you're going with that because I feel like it's people like not only with race, but it's like, hello, we've
Mm-hmm.
experienced that with people like the adoption community. I feel like some of the
Mm-hmm.
loudest people that talk to us on some things are people that have no connection to adoption. Zero. And
Yes.
I'm like, why are you piping in when you have nothing to contribute?
You
And I know that
have
sounds harsh, but it's
zero
like,
knowledge
you're
about
not
this.
adopted, you're not an adoptive parent, you're not a bio parent, like you're not a foster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so
Mm-hmm.
what? Give and I know that's really horrible, but it's true. It's like, no, no.
Mm-hmm. It's always the ones that like, the ones that have the most to say absolutely nothing, but they say it so loudly. And
Yes.
it's just like you just look at them
Yes.
and you go, and like, and I'm very glad that I have matured to that level that I just kind of sit there and just let them make fools of themselves. And I'm like,
You're like,
I just can't,
okay.
I can't even react to you because
Right.
like you're being
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Exactly.
And it is one of those, and they get upset like, you're, oh, you're half white too, you're just as much white, why don't you tell people you're white? I just did. Like I just said,
Were you
I'm Mexican,
listening?
Caucasian, Hispanic, Caucasian, however you want to say this, whatever makes you feel warm and fuzzy, like I can say it like that. But the forms don't let us mark boxes.
Exactly.
It's one
Exactly.
box. It's
Exactly.
one box. You get to
Exactly.
choose one box and that's it.
It is
And,
no,
it's
it is.
crazy.
It is crazy. And it's crazy with my kids, like enrolling them in school and stuff. I don't know if things have changed since then, but I can mark the Caucasian box and I can mark the Hispanic box now, which is kind of crazy, which I love for my kiddos because they're half and
You
half.
can mark both.
Yeah, they've got one is how they're labeled. And it always confused me with me because I'm like, I'm Hispanic, but I'm not any of these, but I'm like a different, like, and I'm this and like they're weird. Some of them are so
Mm-hmm.
complex. I'm like, why are they so hard? Why can't we
Right.
just
Yeah.
like,
That's definitely when you go, why is this so difficult? What is happening
yeah,
right now? Like, this is just
yes,
too much.
exactly. Okay, what about like, I'm trying to think if we've talked about this yet. I don't think we have comments about like people. What would people say if they didn't know you were adopted and they saw your parents? If that or your family. Must be good with the way you giggled.
the one that sticks out to me the most, honestly, because like most of the time people don't question it.
Right.
Like they usually just don't. Um, my parents would disagree with me on that though. So, mom and dad, if you're listening, I'm gonna go ahead and tell the truth. A lot of them would think when I was younger, because there is such an age difference between me and my sisters,
Uh,
they thought that my parents were my grandparents.
oh, okay. That makes
But
sense. No, that
that's,
makes sense.
I mean, that's the only time. Like they would think like Ansley was my mom, or Brittany was my mom, or Carlin was my mom.
Yeah.
They would think they were like, or if my parents came to pick me up, like, teachers would say stuff like, "Oh, are you Delancey's grandmother?" My mom, who she is, goes, "No, she couldn't make it today, so I came." Like, I mean, and you can't, like, to me, it's hilarious. Outside of that, that that's the those were like just the only ones. It wasn't because if you we my dad's Italian, like he's part
Yeah.
Italian, so like the dark hair, dark eyes, all tone
Right.
skin, it works. Two of my sisters have dark hair, dark eyes, all tone skin. Brittany's the one that looks like she was dropped off by the milkman. Respectfully, Brittany, love you. Um, because she's blonde hair, blue eyes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like that's just, and it's funny because before they adopted me, after they had already adopted Carlin, something happened between Brittany and Ansley. And Ansley told Brittany that she was actually the adopted one. And they just didn't want to tell her, which is funny now. Quite like, I just learned this story not too long ago. I
That's
was
so
at Easter,
funny.
so I wasn't really listening, but like that made my ears perk up. So it made me laugh. But the only time was a person who I thought was my friend was like, saw a picture of my parents on my wall.
Yeah.
And then they like looked at my parents. This I lived in Alabama. They looked at my parents. And they went, looked at my parents, looked at me, looked at my parents, looked back at me, and went, hand motions and everything. How? This doesn't make sense. And I
What?
went, what doesn't make sense? And she was like, there is no way these are your real parents. Which we all know that makes me want to almost have a feral response because A, you should never say that to somebody. It's
Right.
not nice. There's
Exactly.
better ways to say it.
Right.
And I remember looking at her and going, how have you been friends with me for 3 or 4 years and you never knew I
Right.
was adopted?
Yeah.
Like, how? How is that
Seriously.
possible? Everybody else under the sun knows I'm adopted. How do you not know
Right.
that? And she was like, she just kind of, after I said that, she was, oh yeah, I forgot. Which, whatever. I feel like, I mean,
No.
that's neither here nor there, but that's the only thing that I ever got. It was never really anything that was ever said. I think maybe possibly could have been said to my parents, and I don't know any different. Me and my parents would have handled that. So,
Right.
yeah.
No, and I think with you, I know my mom a lot of the times walking around and stuff when I was young, like a baby, and she'd hold me and stuff, people would always stop her and be like, whose baby is that? Especially because they knew my siblings and they're all like white and lighter eyes and blondies and stuff. And so
Whose
she and
baby is
she
that? I don't know. Someone just handed it to me. It's weird.
she she really wanted to clap back. I'm like, Mom, why didn't you? The milkman's like just because then people would be like, whoa, okay, because like back then. But
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know that I've
Yeah.
ever really gotten anything crazy weird. My favorite thing is I think as I made new friends and then they'd come over to my house to play, they'd be kind of like, wait, but it wasn't like we were in a deep relationship. They would just be like,
Right.
That's your mom and dad? And then I'd be like, oh, yes, I'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you I'm adopted because it's not, I'm sorry. It is not something that as soon as I meet somebody, and by the way, I'm adopted. Just thought you should
Right.
know. Like, it's just not,
Right.
I mean, unless we get
It's
into deeper conversation, it's just not something.
mm-hmm.
And then I don't ever think about it because they are my parents, that I don't ever
Right.
think about it when people come over
I
and
don't
they're
either.
like, that's your mom and dad? Like, and I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Like, they're my mom and dad. But then it's like,
It's like,
okay,
why
yeah,
are we
I'm
so
adopted.
shocked?
Right, right. Because it's normal. It's the norm. They are my parents.
It,
They are.
yeah.
They're not, you know what I
Well,
mean?
it's almost a running joke at this point. Like it
Yeah.
really is almost a running joke. Like
No.
it's, yeah, at least for my family, it's like, oh, it really is almost a running joke because it's just one of those things where you just go, like, there's just only so many times you can look at somebody and be like, oh my God, again. Like
Right.
really,
Yeah.
before you just start rolling with it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think one time I told, and off color, and I'm probably gonna get some hate for this, and that's fine, I don't care. But I think somebody uh said said something, maybe it was I think it was Brittany or something like that, and I chimed in that I was a foreign exchange student that just never left. I mean, because like at
That's
that point, I'm
hilarious.
gonna have fun with you. Like at that point, I think
Right.
it's just gonna be hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, it just is what it is, because people are, but like you said, it's not the first thing we say. It's not
Mm-mm.
like, hey, I'm Delancey, I'm adopted.
Right. It,
So it makes me laugh whenever other people are like, it's like my niece actually said this about her coach, because her coach's brain broke at first, and I was like, yeah, my niece is on your team. When I was checking them in at the track meet, and she was like,
who's your niece?
who who's your niece? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, good point. I said, Riley. And she goes, that are you her dad's sister? Or, and I was like, no, I'm her mom's sister. And she was like, and that's her dad has dark hair, blue eyes. So, people think, when I first moved back, they thought I was his sister. It, and it's so funny because my niece was like, I can't believe she didn't know you're adopted. And I'm sitting here thinking, there's like, and I understood where she was coming from, because she was just like, it's such a thing, like such
Right.
common knowledge for
Right.
everybody else in her life. Like her
Right.
boyfriend knows I'm adopted, her friends know I'm adopted, but for her coach, she's like, I can't believe she didn't know. And I'm like, it's not me on son
That
that
I
says
carry around.
adopted. Like,
The
yeah,
flashes.
I don't have a tattoo on my arm that says I'm adopted. Like my like we've said, we're adopted. That's part of our identity. It's not our identifier.
Correct.
Ooh.
I know. That's going to be the quote, man. When I come back and listen to this, I love it. I love it. I love it. No, it's so true. Oh, there's another question I was going to ask you, and now I forgot. I got to think.
Probably because I went on a tangent and
No,
I
it's totally
kept
fine.
going
It's
and
totally fine.
just
Dang it. What
didn't
was it?
stop.
Now I've got to no, I think. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. No, I know what I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask, why do you think adoptees feel like it's so bad that they were raised by not their ethnicity?
Hmm. Honestly, I think because some people need to find a reason to complain, and so they're looking for anything that is not what fits their like, not something that fits their picture perfect idea of what they should have been raised, or
Yeah.
how they should have been raised. Wow,
Yeah.
my English teacher is so mad right now. But like that's what it to me, that's what it comes down to, because like, we talk about this anti-adoption trend a good bit, about how it's always about feelings, and just I feel icky, and then they're spreading misinformation, and they don't paint a whole picture.
Right.
They don't want you to see the whole picture. And I think that's the reason why they never talk about their own home life.
Right.
They don't talk about their own families. They talk about how, like, race should stay with race, ethnicity should stay with ethnicity. However, my whole thing is, it's like, who are you to tell somebody who they can love as far as like their family goes? Like, that's not okay to me.
Can I get an
Like,
amen?
how are you going to tell this child that's hanging out in foster care for however many months, however many years, because their family is not fit to get the child back, and they're up for adoption? The courts have like, let's use this example. The courts have terminated the kids, for like,
Right.
the
Yeah. For the family.
parents,
Yeah.
guardianship, family, all of that. That's been completely liquidated, done. So you mean to tell me that this beautiful child who needs love, who needs guidance, who needs a home
Right.
and parents to teach them how to live life, you mean to tell me that child has to wait until somebody of their own race comes along to bring them home?
Right.
That's so stupid.
Agreed.
That is so stupid on so many levels.
Yeah.
Now, do I think people need to be educated on how to take care of different races? Probably yes, 100%. Because at the end of the day, you have different things that come into play: health
Correct.
concerns, hair texture, skin, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
answering the hard questions.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that somebody can't learn and they can't do it.
Agreed. Agreed.
So
Amen to
this
that.
whole entire thing of, I mean, this isn't back in the 1940s when
Yeah.
when segregation was like a thing.
Right, 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 right.
I
Right.
thought that was done. I
Yeah.
thought that was over and done with. I thought we were all like trying to be,
Agreed.
I mean, according to what I've seen on the news recently, it doesn't look like that in some places in the country. But
Right.
anyone that says, and I do agree with this, people should not say they're colorblind. That's just stupid.
Agreed.
That's
100% agreed.
dumb.
Yeah.
That is so dumb.
Amen.
But
I'm glad you said it.
to me, that's ignorant and that's dumb. Do not say you're colorblind. You just sound stupid. I mean, respectfully, you sound stupid. Don't say I don't see race. You sound stupid.
I
Like
do
you
not
just sound
sing.
dumb.
I'm clapping because I agree 100% with Delancey.
But there is a way to acknowledge. I think honestly, there is a way to acknowledge the differences in our skin tones and respect each other without making that asinine statement. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I love seeing different skin tones. I am
Agreed.
jealous of different skin tones because it's just it's everyone is beautiful in their own way, and that's what
Yes.
makes it amazing. Like
Yes.
I mentioned this in another episode way back when, and it just clicked in my head that I already did this before, but I'm gonna do it again. DC Talk wrote that song, Colored People. It is
Yes.
one of the greatest Christian songs ever, and it's absolutely beautiful because you can you can talk about different skin tones.
Yes.
That's not a bad thing. And for
No.
people to weaponize that against somebody else is just ugly and disgusting.
Agreed.
That's what I think it is. I think it's especially the social media trend right now. It's to get likes, it's to get followers, it's to do all just icky. It's just icky. And some of the stuff that's going on right now in this country where like people are getting jumped and they're getting beat up and they're getting attacked and they're getting like robbed and all these different things. It's First of all, none of that should be happening at all in general. But the
Agreed.
media is making it 100 times worse by
Yes.
highlighting race, by
Yes.
using certain buzzwords to
So
ignite
true.
frustration and anger in people, and these Gen Zers who are between 18 and 24 who do not have fully developed frontal cortexes and hadn't, some of them may
It's
have
true.
enough life experience to know what they're talking about, but
Right?
they're playing on that. They're
Yeah.
like that. That's what I think. I just,
No. Amen.
yeah, I love my soapboxes.
No.
I have so many,
I don't know
so
if I really,
many.
no, I don't know if I really have anything to add to that because like I feel the exact same way. Like the exact same way about it is it's like they're trying to, with the very first thing that you said, they're just trying to find anything to be disgruntled about and just to be like, well,
Mm-hmm,
this is so hard in my life. And I think
mm-hmm,
me and you both are kind of like, no, we don't tolerate that because we have both been through really tough things on where we've had to choose ourselves and be like, okay, we are
mm-hmm.
what, like we have the choice to make who we want to be, nobody else. So don't
Exactly.
be going and bitching to other people about things because they can't help change you. It's kind of like from Donna's episode, because I just recently like re-listened to it, but like how she's talking about the
A good
holes.
episode.
Like,
Such
you
a
know
good
what I mean?
episode.
Like
Yes.
the holes,
Yes.
you can't fill other people's holes when they're not willing to like receive it. I think is how she said it,
Mm-hmm.
something like so good that it's just like you can't fix everybody. You can't fix other people. The only person you can fix is yourself. And these
Mm-hmm.
people who are labeled as angry adoptees, which kind of gets me frustrated too, because it's like, you know what? No, they are. Because people are like, you can't call them an angry adoptee because they've been through shit. Good. Like, good for them. Like, I don't care. And I know that's really mean, but it's like, No,
Yeah.
they need to
Yeah.
find a different outlet than to go on social media and, you know, get mad at other adoptees that like love adoption. Get mad at adoptive parents because they don't know what they're doing. You know, be mad at like all the it's just I just can't. I just can't. I can't do it. Because it's like who wants to live like that? Not me.
Like, why do you want to live your life constantly mad at somebody?
So true.
Like at anybody? Like, just
Yeah.
like, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why? And it's a fad
Yeah.
to be like that, like rare all the time, like
No,
on
it's
social
true.
media. Like
Yeah.
that's such a fad. Kind of like the plethora of cat videos
Yeah.
was a fad.
Yeah.
I miss those times though. It was simpler times, but it, it's so it's so frustrating to me because it just don't don't pull us
Right.
into that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Agreed.
don't, like, I'll sit here and I'll listen to you. That's fine.
Right.
I'll listen. But
Right.
when I try to put in my 2 cents and then you either literally mute me
Right.
or you just disregard what I'm saying in general because you say I'm trying to silence you. I'm not trying to silence you. I'm trying to understand you. And you're not really
Exactly.
saying anything of substance to make me understand you.
Right.
You
Right.
know, like,
Yeah.
if you're angry, why are you angry? Why are you specifically upset?
Yes.
What is it?
Yeah.
Because, I had somebody tell me something has nothing to do with this, but same kind of scenario. They're mad about something and they're like, you just don't understand. I was like, I'm trying to understand. I'm
Right.
literally trying to understand. Help me understand. Break down for me the reasons A, B, C, D, and whatever you're upset about this
Right.
particular thing. Well,
Right.
it's not about all of that. It's about the way it looks. And I went, oh, okay. And I literally looked at them in the eye and said, so you're more concerned about optics than the facts.
Wow.
And they went, yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to exit this conversation. Like, I can't, you're not right or wrong. I told them that you're not right or wrong. You can be mad,
Right.
but you're choosing to be mad about something that's not factual.
Right.
So
Right. Agreed.
this didn't happen to you. This
Yeah.
didn't affect you. This didn't do
Exactly.
anything to you, but you're mad about how it looks.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't get it.
I'm mad about how I look half the time, but I'll take it out on the world. That's because my clothes don't fit right now. But like that's just like, but I'll take it out on the world. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't let something like that. It's just,
No. I
just
get exactly what you mean. No. I totally get what you mean. Yeah. Any other questions you can think of? See, those are kind of my
did
ones that
you
I was
ever have your siblings or nieces or nephews say anything interesting about you being different than the rest of them? Because I actually had one just pop in my head. It's really funny.
No, the only thing I can really think of, and it wasn't even like what do you, it wouldn't necessarily be like mean or anything, is my cousin who he's 3 years younger than me. And me and him
Hmm.
are super close. Like that's who we went to go see in California, like super close. We've been super close since we were teenagers.
Hmm.
he, he didn't realize I was even adopted, which kills me because everybody's white in that family. But that just shows me right there is like he didn't necessarily care.
Just
Like
didn't
he's
think
like,
about it.
she's
Yeah.
my cousin. We're
It's
friends. Like it
That's a
doesn't
family
it
friend.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Like he knew I had brown skin and he
I
acknowledged that I was
roll
a
with
different
her.
color. But it's just like, and to me it's just like,
Yeah.
and it's the way that the whole family, you know what I mean? It wasn't a
Hmm.
weird foreign thing. And I think if it was a weird foreign thing, it would have been different. There would have been a lot more snidey things, but people were just they just accepting of it and didn't care. You know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
just, yeah. Okay. What
Just
about
let it
yours?
just it just is it. Well, this one actually involves the same niece.
That's so funny. Does she
When she
listen?
was I don't know. I know the oldest niece in that family. I know she listens. So she actually gave me a really big, well, we'll give her a shout out on this one. Tori gave me a big compliment whenever they were living in she probably does not remember this, when they were living in Colorado. It was just her at the time, and the neighbor had some kind of toy that Tori didn't have, and um, the neighbor was like, you're just jealous that you don't have insert whatever popular toy name is right
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
Tori goes, you're jealous you don't have an Aunt Delancey. And like turns out and just like walks off, and it's like, get him, girl, because I'm awesome. Yes. But her sister, when she was trying to think of the age difference that they have, maybe she was like 7 or 8, I guess. She's now 21, so this was a while ago, and maybe she was 6. I don't know, but she was younger. She was a kid, and they were, it was her and Tori. Tori's the oldest, and there's Riley. And then the thing that made me giggle a little bit was that apparently they were trying to decide, Matt and Brittany were, what they wanted to do as far as like, and I hope they're okay with me sharing this because I'm about to. They were trying to decide what would be the best course of action for them, if they wanted to do IVF
Oh, okay.
treatments or if they wanted to look into adoption. And they were actually, I would love to talk to her more about that because we never really dove into it. We did, but we didn't.
Gotcha.
So she was talking to Tori and Riley, age appropriate,
Right.
to get their
Right. Right.
thoughts on, adoption. And Riley, this just tells you how open like my whole family is with the fact that I'm adopted. And it's just like, it's just part of it. Like, it just is not a good or bad thing. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Riley looked at my sister and my brother-in-law and goes, can we get a brown one like Aunt Delancey?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Yes, you can. Yes,
I love
ma'am.
it.
When Brittany called to tell me that, she could not stop cracking up.
So
I started
cute.
immediately cracking up because that's just the innocence of children
No, it's
that makes it
true.
so funny. I guarantee you there's somebody out there who would twist that and make that sound offensive in some kind of way. And to me, I'm just like, I get it.
Yeah.
All of you except your dad have blonde hair and blue eyes and like a little
Right.
bit of olive tone to their skin. Yes, my dear, you should have a brown one like
It's
Aunt
so cute.
Delancey. You
I love
should.
it.
But like, it's just, I was just curious if you ever had something like that because it's
Yeah.
children always make it more fun
Oh, it's so true.
because like it just
Yeah. No, and I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, and it's never been anything like, I'm not gonna lie. I'd tell her I like to be like I'm the favorite. I am. Like I do. I feel like I'm like you. But I make huge effort in their lives. Even though now that I'm married, still I still
Mhm.
make a huge effort in their lives. I ask them how dances are. I ask them how, sports are. I stay involved
Mhm.
because that's just the type of human that I am. And so yeah. So if anybody listens to this, I'm the favorite and I don't give a shit what you think. I'm the favorite. Like it's fine. I'm the favorite.
I can honestly say as the other ones have gotten older, I've kind of dropped the ball a little bit on them. I do my best to stay as engaged as I can be, but it's like, sorry guys, it's so much easier to be involved with the younger ones because they don't run away and they want to still talk to
Right.
you and like still think you're
Right.
cool, and
Yeah.
like they're not like in serious relationships or have
Right.
jobs. Like they're little.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's
so yeah, but it's definitely it's an intentionality thing.
right.
But like anything, all of it's intentionality.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everything's intentionality. Like when random like it's okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this. It's okay to ask us if we speak Spanish, but when we tell you we don't be like,
Yeah.
like be intentional with your questions and be intentional with being respectful with your responses. Cause like,
Right. No.
of course, I haven't gotten that like as
Mm-mm.
I've gotten older. Like in
Yeah.
my
No.
adulthood, it's not a big deal.
No. Yeah. No. It's yeah. Definitely I don't get it as much. I mean, I get it sometimes at work, but they're never like ew about it. It's just like, oh, yeah, here,
Hmm.
go this way. Sorry, this person can help you, but
Yeah,
never too
like
much.
my old job when I worked at Verizon and T-Mobile, it was like that because there was a strong Hispanic community in out in where I was living in Alabama, and they
Right.
would come in, to get their phones, and they would beeline it to the girl that looks like she speaks Spanish. I get it. I
Right.
understand.
No,
Just,
it's so true. Yeah.
I didn't.
So true. Anything else you want to add? Any like last closing remarks or anything on that?
I don't think so.
Okay. I mean, is it like if you guys have probably listened to this, you can tell we've got like the same exact views on it. It was never, I don't know, our parents did such a stellar job at like making us always the we're theirs, and it's never been a
Mhm.
big deal. And we're not disgruntled by, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't
Right.
do that. Like, because it's kind of like, and I think, I don't know if Delancey said it, like you can always learn. Because, like, if I want to learn about my Colombian heritage more, like, why is my adulthood a bad time to learn more about it? Why did I have to learn it when I was younger? You know what I mean? Like, there's no
Exactly.
correct timeline to learn things. We
Hmm.
can all, you're always setting new traditions. I mean, hell, you like with me getting married into a different family, there's like now new traditions that I
Hmm.
have to now incorporate. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it
Well,
is.
and creating your own family.
Exactly.
There are traditions that you want to have there too. I mean, it's just I mean
Exactly. Yeah.
it's if you're wasting if you're taking time to blame somebody because you didn't learn about your ethnicity or your race growing up, you're
Right.
literally wasting the time you could be
It's,
using to
it's
learn about your race and ethnicity. Like
exactly.
you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. Ooh, golly, that was my mom.
So funny.
God, that my mom used to say that all the time. But I mean, it is. It's just
Yeah.
there's there's no
That's so
reason. I
true.
mean, and I'm not, and we're not saying every situation is like this. We're not saying that
Correct.
every upbringing is like this. We're not saying that something
Right.
didn't happen. If you are upset, that you don't have a right to be upset. You do have a right to be upset. However, you have a right to have your feelings. You don't. You just shouldn't live there.
Right.
Just don't. I
Agreed.
mean, we say it all the time. Do not live
Yes.
there. It's not
Don't.
healthy. It's not fun. Take it from
Mm-mm.
people who did.
Yes. Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's a very, and if you think people don't notice, they do.
Oh,
Especially
100%.
when you start putting in the work and you start getting better and healthier and
It's so true.
like it
So true. So,
just
so, so true.
do the best that you can because your parents are,
Yeah.
again, not everybody, but I
Right.
know my parents did the best that they could and they did a pretty
Agreed.
dang good job.
That's how I feel about my
Same
parents
with
too.
yours, Melena.
Yep.
Yours
That's
did a pretty
exactly.
dang good job.
So, okay. All right. Well, oh, if that's it, then I will. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys, as always, to our episode. And if we will,
I
well, peace out.
know.